Whew, thank you for waiting. I'm feeling much better, throat's still a little off, but that could just as easily be my consumption of sweets. But let's get to the point, no pun intended. Misogi Kumagawa PL 11. Yeah, I kinda surprised myself with that low number, but one thing at a time. Motive. I have some trouble pinning down a precise motive. I watched Medaka Box a couple times, which gives a very basic idea of Misogi. If you do some reading on him, you'll find there's a grand plenty the anime doesn't get the opportunity to bring out. A true pity, but the thing is that prior to his being reformed by Medaka, he may have wanted a challenge, he may have just wanted to have fun. I can't even say with certainty that he just wants to do good after his being reformed. Perhaps someone can clarify for me in the comments. As to his complication, you have two options. Prior to his being reformed, Misogi had self-esteem issues that amounted to the belief that his place in the world was under everyone. Before and after, though, it is reasonable to conclude that he can be distracted by a scantily clad female and should roll will to avoid said distraction. Looking at his stats, we're looking at a particularly tough high schooler. I considered -1 intellect, as he stated about himself that he's not smart, but that could be his lack of ego talking. His stamina has to be good to take certain hits, and his will has to be even better. He loses a lot, and when he does win, he doesn't count it for various reasons that ensure he can keep his loser mindset. His will has to be good to enforce his own negative mindset on himself. His ability to produce screws, an abnormality that I don't think has its own name, but whatever, damage obviously can be thrown as a ranged attack, or he can just decide that they pop out of the ground and impale some poor artist. That calls for indirect 4. Alternatively, create 8 would give you essentially a big cylinder or a few. I envision one using this to make a platform in the ground that steadily gets taller to reach an otherwise inaccessible height, or a slew of screws embedded on the floor forcing opponents to do a balancing act. Also, this is probably attributed to use of all fiction, but I can't quite see that. Misogi is quite comfortable stabbing himself in the head with one of his own screws for kicks. Immunity to piercing damage. Speaking of all fiction, for those of you who don't know, all fiction / non-fiction is just the cheapest, most broken move that even a crazy GM like myself would not permit. Anything Misogi perceives can be erased, be it injuries for himself or others, which we would use healing for, existence of a person or object, which we will use affliction for, even though that's pushing it just a wee bit. But most notably, he is permitted to use all fiction to undo his own death. A pinch of malarkey, as one would have to be conscious in order to make such a decision, but if you want to be a picky, we could call it a defense mechanism of the body. Seriously, even Thanos has the decency to take the removable flaw on his. It should be noted that non-fiction is for undoing the effects of all fiction, bringing back what is erased. Erased objects are still in-game, as it were. If I may propose a homebrew rule for a more accurate version of this move, I would say nullify, with a very broad modifier at 2 or 3 points per rank, resisted by either presence or deception. Canonically speaking, there are circumstances in which all fiction simply can't be used, hence making presence a defense would denote that someone is too much of a main character to be taken out like that. Deception is more realistic though, as I did say that Misogi can use this at perception range. For example, if he were pit against the Hulk, he wouldn't be able to shut the transformation down unless he knew that there was another person under the green skin, and then hit life's undo button to bring back Dr. Banner. Bookmaker. A non-damaging screw is put through the chest of a target and turns their hair white. That brings that opponent down to Misogi's level in terms of physical and mental abilities, and also his defeatist mindset. Hence, I didn't use weaken for this. And after that grand display of powers, there really isn't much to do with his skills and advantages. I give him equipment for a phone, I give him contacts in case Ajimu wants to send happy dreams full of good info, I give him fearless, in part for what he's famous for, and that's never giving up on anything. Can this be used in a campaign? Probably not.